Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another JCT Talks podcast.
Today we will be talking about animals and nature.
Thank you so much for your support last video when we interviewed Daniel Vitalis. There are so many views on that video.
Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Now, on to the podcast. Hello, everyone, and you already watched the intro, but we are talking about animals and nature this episode. And when I heard that idea from Callum, I thought, that is the best idea ever. We have, over our text messages, we thought of different ideas and topics. For example, our experiences with COVID-19, technology, all these different topics that we have to think about for these amazing episodes that we're producing. And when I heard animals and nature, that is a great topic to talk about right now because there's so much going on. Animals are going extinct. There are different things going on. Seasons are changing. If you have watched our episode last week, Daniel Vitalis interview, it was amazing. Callum and I had so much fun. We had a great time. We talked to him about the different cooking, foraging, hunting, fishing. You should definitely watch that and check that out because he does a great job saying information and you can understand him very, very clearly. And I think if you watch the episode, you can agree that it went really well. And I think, of course, it went really well. But like all these different things happen. But one of the main things that I want to hit on today is global warming. And it's one of the things that is affecting nature and animals entirely. And it's crazy because it's making animals extinct. It's making our winters not as cold and shorter, less snow on the ground. In Virginia, last winter, there was no snow. We didn't have a single little bit of snow. And sure, it was cold. I don't really like the cold. I like medium. But there was no snow at all. And I was like, sure, I don't really like shoveling the driveway, but I do enjoy snow because you can play in it. You can do a bunch of things. And one of my favorite activities is sledding, and we don't really have good hills. So what I do is I sled in my ditch, and that's nature. So all these activities that you do outside, I was thinking, what's an example of nature? And just picture nature in your head. What do you think of trees? If you just look behind Callum, it's nature. I'm, of course, in my room right now, and that's where I used to film, in those curtains. But this is all man-made, and nature used to be in this house. But people are now building more houses, more apartments, more grocery stores, all these new things, which is destroying nature. Now, Callum is a perfect example of not destroying nature because if you look behind him, there's trees, woods, there's the whole mountains behind him. It's like the best scenery to have. And it's awesome how different things are going on. And global warming, the big change that it's had is from the quarantine. We have definitely brought up the coronavirus every single episode we've had because it's such a big moment in history. I think you can all see that every single episode, it's completely related. And this episode also relates to it because with global warming, because people weren't as much on the streets, they weren't driving, they weren't like more outside, they were learning more about the environment. And because people weren't driving as much, the pollution and all the stuff, it's gone. It's not completely gone, but it's lowered as much, and it's really slowed down global warming. And scientists are like, this is all that we have to do. We just have to drive a little bit less. We just have to do this a little bit less. We just need more people that are environmentally conscious because there's so much going on with nature and animals. And when you think of animals also, so nature and animals are two completely different topics, but they connect so well because animals, of course, live in nature. And one of the things about animals is people think of spirit animals, your favorite animal. People have pets that are animals. I have a turtle, a dog, fish, and there's all these pets that you can have. And animals are great, really, because they can hang out with you. You can have fun. You can eat them. It's pretty fun you think about that, but you shouldn't eat your pets. But there's all these different things with nature and animals, and this is why it's a great topic for today's episode. But nature, I'll continue on that. So I took a camping trip to James River State Park 1 week ago, and it was a awesome state park. You can see the river, but it was canceled, of course. We were going to go tubing, but it was canceled because the water was too high from all this rain and weather. And weather really hits hard with nature because that really is the cycle, the water cycle. That's really weather. And recently, I know in the southern states, there has been a lot of rain and there's a hurricane coming right now. There's a lot of things going on, and it's crazy. And there's flooding going on. It's not good. But this is what nature is, and it's just how nature is. And it all goes together because all these animals can live together and go really well. But because of all this weather, everyone has experienced some kind of weather. But in the James River, since we couldn't go, there's so many other things that I learned that you can do in nature. So we took a hike. We got to learn about turtles. We went to a stream, and we caught crawfish. We caught little minnows. We caught all these fun little things from the rocks. And I challenge you to go outside and just spend 5 minutes with nature. And this could be just kicking the soccer ball. This could be just walking around. This could be playing on your phone and being in nature. Yes, it still counts as being in nature, and you can enjoy yourself while being out there. Nature, it helps us live. Well, we need it to live. Oxygen, have you ever seen a tree before? That produces oxygen. What do you think oxygen is used for? We need it. We breathe it. Now, I don't have any trees in this room, but I still have oxygen going through because all the trees are everywhere. If you look in Cal's backyard, there's a ginormous tree right behind him. That is producing oxygen right now, at this moment, and he's breathing it right now, which is great. Yeah. You got that fresh oxygen, and that's the great thing about nature. You can enjoy yourself, and you get a lot of different things with it. Yaupon tea, that is Sir Thrival, they sponsored us, and they have Yaupon tea. The Yaupon leaf has naturally caffeinated, and it comes from nature. And that is one of the great things about nature because you can garden, you can do a bunch of different things with nature because you can garden, you can go outside and plant stuff, you can forage. That's one of the things that Daniel talked about. That's from nature. A lot of the activities that you do is in nature. You name an activity, video games. If you play Call of Duty, Fortnite, what is the map? That's nature. That's grass, that's trees, that's rocks. This is all nature. And there's a lot of hobbies that Daniel was talking about. I asked Daniel, hey, what is going on? Like, what hobbies do you have in your free time? And he says, like shooting and archery. And that really, compares to him because he does all the hunting. He does a bunch of different things with fishing, and that's all nature. And that's really cool. And the humankind has really, with technology, if you want to go look at our technology, episode, the technology has really advanced because we started with the Egyptians or the Native Americans with long canoes, and they would scrape it and they would have that and they'd push it on the river and they'd paddle. But now we've advanced to plastic kayaks and plastic paddles that we can just go in, and there's helmets now. Technology has advanced for safety issues because what do you think happened when one of those giant canoes flipped with the wood? Sure, the wood would float, but what do you think would happen to the people inside of it? Yeah, they would go underwater and they would drown it. I mean, not good, but that's how it was. And we've improved that technology. But again, we had to sacrifice nature for all this. And that's why I'm getting more into the environment because we're doing so much more building and there's new infrastructure and cars. Most likely you've driven in a car, and it's guaranteed that you have because that's how you get everywhere. Or you bike, or you walk. But that is still doing something. If you wear a shirt, look at the shirt that you're wearing, or if you're not wearing a shirt, look at the clothing that you're wearing, look at the watch that you're wearing, look at your thing that you're watching us on right now. That is something that the environment we had to make sacrifices. Well, the environment had to make sacrifices because we had to build the factory that made the plastic for your phone case. We had to do these different things. What do you think? How'd they build the factories? How would they get the wood for that? From the trees. Everything that you think of right now, it's connected to nature somehow. Think of a single thing that's not connected to nature. Comment that, and if you can think of it, you can tell me. Go ahead. Boom. Can't think of anything. That's right. Yep. Well, that finished me off for a little bit. Callum, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So you definitely have some good points about nature and all of that. And yeah, nature is basically everything is nature. And nowadays everything's technology. That's what we talked about in the technology episode too. Where I think that the two biggest things that are everywhere in the world now are nature and technology. And yeah, that feels interesting to say. But back to the for animals. So hunting and animals are kind of connected in a way. So a lot of actually like Daniel Vitalis, he's one of them, and a lot of other hunters. They say this too: hunters, fishers, foragers. All of those type of people, I've heard every single one of them. I haven't heard a single one not say this. And they said that hunting brings them closer to nature. And you might have heard that too. But I just think that's very cool to hear because, like, I've never hunted, so I don't know an experience to have like that. But that just must be very interesting. And animals, like humans have worked on animals, tested animals. We have pets now, like cats, dogs, fish, turtles, and that those are animals that are more friendly. And maybe in the world, later in life, before humans made pet dogs, who knew what dogs were doing? Dogs are basically wolves that are a little friendlier, and so yeah, but and maybe in the future, even so many new creatures, animals will be made somehow by scientists. I don't know how they do that, but I've heard that, and it's very interesting to think about that. To think like there might be a new type of maybe there'll be a animal in the future called the electric wire, and that's a pet. Who knows? The electric wire. I have a pet electric wire. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? But and then nature is very important. Without nature, you can't live. Like the world is or at least for humans can't live without a nature, and the humans have been getting so much more advanced with all this new stuff, and they don't live in nature anymore, or at least the majority. There's some people that still live in nature, but a lot of them live in houses or apartments or wherever you live. And and like technology again, that's everything, it seems now. And even in urban areas, you still have nature. Have you ever walked down a street and seen trees? And like those trees, because they need nature. You can't make a city that doesn't have any nature. Look at the biggest city in America, New York City, that has an entire park. You probably heard of it, Central Park. And they need that to, they need that. And nature is very important. And like if you live kind of where I am with all this nature in my back, it's so nice to just go out and get some fresh air. And even if you don't live somewhere like this, you should still, at least like Jake was saying, go outside for a little bit and just be out here. Actually, I saw my mom earlier outside sitting in a chair listening to one of our episodes. And she was being out in nature. And it's really nice to be like this. And some people maybe a little bit cheating. They might be cheating by this. They might be sitting in a chair looking out at nature. That doesn't count as being in nature. It counts as looking at nature. But even like a porch, just go out on a porch and be with nature. And I think that's very important. And maybe you can't walk outside and be in nature because you live in New York City in an apartment and you can't go anywhere in nature. And then go to Central Park. And I don't know if you live far from it or just somewhere, you should at least, nature is important to the humans, to animals. Animals live in nature. Most animals live in nature now. And the ocean counts as nature. The ocean is a type of nature, and there's nature down there that the fish need to survive, or any other animals in nature. And it's interesting to think, like some fish actually can't, like some fish actually needs like some air every once in a while. Like we used to have a pet fish, and it had to come up like I think once a day to get some air, and then would go back down. And that's interesting to think. And what did it need? Nature, air. And whales, I'm pretty sure, don't they need? I don't know. Dolphins, I think. There's a few animals that need air, and maybe in the middle of the ocean you don't get nice trees, but you do get you did get fresh air and you get wind, and maybe that'll blow the fresh air to you. And there's even islands and all of this there too. And I think a lot of people have, like I was saying, like how hunters say that they get closer to nature by hunting. And I feel like a lot of people, it must be so nice to just go out there, because maybe I think what they mean by going like hunting makes them closer to nature is because they feel like they're surviving. I don't know exactly, but like maybe they feel like they're surviving because they have to hunt animals instead of going to the grocery store, buying meat, and then cooking it. Instead, they get their own meat. They cook it their own way. And that must make them feel so much closer to nature. And I don't know if that's true, but it would make me feel way better. And it would make, and like, it's, if you go to the store, buy meat, bring it home and cook it, you don't feel accomplished. You're just like, okay, I got some food. And if you hunt, you feel accomplished. You're like, I did this. And then you can reward yourself to the food that you got. And that must feel so good. And, and like humans have, if some humans can technically live in nature, like people have wood houses and stuff. And yeah, but a lot of times, a lot of people, if you walk into somebody's house, and you're like, oh, nice plant. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say it's fake. They're gonna have a fake plant inside their house for some reasons, and then they'll have the real ones outside maybe. But and so then nobody really lives inside with nature. But I'm sure people do live inside with animals. Even if you're not an animal person, you don't have any pets, you still live inside with animals. You know how? Spiders, ants, all those different kind of. I guess they're not animals; they're like insects. But they're still in your house, and so you always can, if you're at your house, you feel lonely, then you should just feel closer to nature. You should just go outside and be with nature. You shouldn't feel lonely in nature. Nature's like with you, and you should feel like you're with somebody in nature. And I think that if you're like, hey, Jeff, do you want to go out to nature with me tomorrow? And Jeff is like, yeah, sure. And then you guys go, and you guys think you're having a good time, but then you go again the next week by yourself. You're probably going to have a better time out with yourself than with Jeff, because you can be closer to nature, and you can experience your own experiences with nature. Maybe Jeff saw a bird. It's like, oh my God, it's a bird, when you were just having, when you were just meditating, so, and I think that's really great. And also just sitting outside. Maybe you're outside right now listening to this episode, and you're just sitting back in your chair and looking at a squirrel. You're seeing, how does the squirrel live? You're like, that's very interesting. Maybe I'll become a squirrel watcher. And you watch how the squirrel wakes up every morning, like what time, like what days it comes out. And then you see how it like digs up or climbs trees, looks at different stuff, and how it lives. And then you can be like, that's very interesting. It's very interesting to think how other species live, unlike humans. And I think that's very cool to think about. Like, we have the porcupine, and apparently it's on a schedule of every other day, or it comes out every other day in our yard. So it's interesting to think about different schedules that they have, different, how, if they're social or not. A lot of animals aren't social, and a lot of humans aren't social with animals, but it's because they're two different species. But in the same way, they're the same species. Humans are a type of animal, and they're just a little more advanced, and the next evolution of humans is probably monkeys, and closest monkeys, they're learning. You can look up these videos of monkeys learning how to like hammer, learning how to like do so much things that people have taught them to do. I don't know what the people want their monkeys to do, but they're definitely evolving. So yeah, I think that's gonna finish me up though, Jake. So would you like to add anything?
Well, I do own my monkey, and I have him clean the dishes. So, yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about Jeff here because he seems like a pretty cool guy. So that's saying it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a blank, whatever you say. So that's actually very close to nature and animals. Well, of course it is. But whenever you just look up in the sky when you're in nature enjoying it, you see a bird or a plane. And planes are technology that have been polluting, and there's a lot. There's like 10,000 planes flying at any second. It's crazy how there's so much. And there's millions of people traveling. And all this is pollution that is going on. But I like it how Daniel said you can live off the wild. You can do these things and you do not need planes. And he said that people are getting, their lives are too easy. If you watch our podcast, he did say that. Proof. And he said that it's getting too easy because you can just go to this grocery store and buy your blueberries. You don't have to forage them. You can just go and buy beef. You don't have to go hunt your own cow like how they used to. It's different things, how humans have evolved through this technology, but I like it how he says they've evolved and that's good, but it's also not that good. So because people are learning these different things, but they aren't learning survival techniques, and if they end up being in a survival situation, then it's going to be harder for them. Because I really push for you to learn how to forage. I really push for you to learn how to do something, hunt, fish, for you to do something that you can learn, because I'm a Boy Scout and I learn not every single technique, but I learn a lot of techniques, and it's really good. And one of the merit badges that I had to take was emergency preparedness. And it was teaching you how to live off of nature and like how, if there's a crisis situation, so let's say, for example, I don't know if it probably won't happen, a zombie apocalypse. Let's say if Jeff is a scientist and he's like, I wonder what else this monkey can do. And he evolves, like Callum said, the wire could be, like electrical wire could be your new friend. Well, what if a zombie, he's like, oh, I'll make a zombie today. That's what I'm going to do at work. They make a zombie, and then they end up figuring out, oh no, this is the zombie apocalypse. Well, then you learn kind of how to live during that. It's going to be kind of hard to live in a zombie apocalypse but see, people won't know how to do that because they're going to be like, oh, just go to the grocery store. Oh, no. I don't know what to do now and let's just say in this situation you cannot eat zombie. Let's say that. A zombie is poisonous. Well, then that means half the population is wiped out trying to eat zombie. So it's a whole world. It's a whole crazy thing that, it could go on and on. You could make up this story, zombie apocalypse. That could be a full story on JCT Talks. But I push you to learn about nature and be environmentally friendly because there's so much going on in the pollution. And really, animals have become, they're pets, of course, and they used to not be pets. They used to be just living in the wild, and humans came from animals. They started as just going up. So, and we don't know how long Earth has been around for, but it's evolutionized. And, of course, animals started, they didn't have all these different things. They weren't given dog food. They weren't kept as pets. Jeff didn't have a monkey in his science lab. All these different things. Like Callum said, Jeff, he of course has his monkey. Like, humans wouldn't have had monkeys because animals used to not be pets, and they evolved to become that. But animals have become experiments, science experiments. So Jeff is experimenting on zombies, of course, but let's say these different programs, they're experimenting animals on different medications, different things before they use them on humans, which a lot of people are against. And I don't have an opinion on it, but it's interesting because that's a way to test before humans. And because they don't want to injure the humans before, because the company, of course, doesn't want to be sued, but they can get a rat for free. If you just go to New York City to Central Park, boom, you got a free rat. Yeah. And once you have it, you can test the different pills, you can test all these things and what side effects they have. That's how companies figure that out. And then they go to human testing to make sure it's safe, like that. But one of the major things that happened, like Callum said, monkeys, how they're able to hammer, how they're able to do these different things, apes. NASA tested on dogs, monkeys, rats, all these different animals to see how space can work. If you've ever watched Space Force, I would highly, highly recommend that show. Highly recommend it. If you have Netflix, you should watch it. After you finish all of our podcasts, after you've done, you should watch Space Force because it's seriously the best show I've ever watched. It's up there in The Office and Parks and Rec, I'm telling you. It's really good. And in one of the scenes, it's a monkey and a dog in the space shuttle. Now, I'm not going to say what ended up happening. I'm not going to say, but something does happen. That's why you should watch the show. But it's a great show. I'd highly recommend it. But they're testing on apes and dogs, but they teach them how to do this. And they taught the monkey how to grab tools with the laser. It's interesting. And it took the monkey forever to get a hammer. You should watch it. Highly recommend it. It's hilarious. Callum is laughing right now on mute. I see him laughing. It's a great show. But this is what NASA has gone to, different space things. But also, that's testing because, sure, you don't want humans to die, but also it can help dogs because, let's say, if we are able to go to space and then dogs can't come with us, do you really want to leave your pets behind? If families are allowed to go, you don't want to leave your pets behind because that's your best friend, really. And I know that, and also animals are used for different things that help humans. So chickens have eggs. They also produce meat that is great. Chickens are great. I am taking care of my neighbor's chickens right now. They're super awesome. One chicken is sick, and we have to give it medicine, so that's not good. But it's not good at all. But I know Callum has chickens, and that's pretty cool. So there's all these different things that humans relate to animals and nature. Like I said, name something or they don't. And you know what? Don't do that. Nature and technology, everything relates to nature because there's so much that nature provides for us, and there's so much that it sacrifices, and there's so much that it can do. So to finish me off pretty much, nature involves a bunch of different things. And when you think of nature, you think trees, like you're just out there on trees, rocks, dirt, all these different things in nature. But you really got to think of the little things. I really like it how Callum brought up the animals in the ocean because nature, it's really a big pyramid. So it starts off as the big word, nature, and then it goes off to the different environments or different things, and it goes to the animals, and it goes down to the little plants, and it goes to the food chains, and it goes to all these different things. Nature, it all works together. It's like a cycle. Well, it's not a cycle, but it's like the weather cycle, but it's infinite, and it doesn't go in a circle, it goes in a straight line. But there's a lot of things that is involved in nature, and how Callum brought up the ocean, those animals, they don't have oxygen from trees like us. So may I represent you algae or algae. It's a plant that's underwater, and it produces oxygen, of course, but that can only be maximum 5 I was told 5 miles, but I think that's too far. Now I'm thinking about it. But it's underwater. But think about it. It needs sunlight, right? All plants need sunlight to do photosynthesis to produce oxygen. But then you go even deeper. What do you think that those fish below need? Well, there's coral, of course, and there's all these different things. But there's plants underwater. There's more plants. But then it stops at some point, right? Because sunlight can't get us through anymore. No nutrients, no the extra sunlight. What happens to those animals that are down below? I don't know. I'm asking you. But, they have to survive, and that's how animals have adapted. So some animals, they don't breathe. They use something else. They have nutrients to survive instead of oxygen. They breathe water instead of air. There's all these different adaptations and physical things that animals have. Now, of course, I'm not a science teacher, and I don't understand this completely, so you would have to interview someone. We could interview a science teacher, actually. I think that'd be a great idea. Interview someone that really works the topics that we're doing. Because I think it's very interesting, and JC TeaTalks is going into more interviews, but JC TeaTalks was made possible by nature and by animals. Because, Jeff made the zombies. The zombies helped us make these computers that we're on, the phones, the lights, the microphone, these different things. Well, the zombies didn't make it, of course. But nature helped us make the factories. I'm really going off topic, but the nature relates to everything that I'm talking about. So it's really, really neat how nature, and you may say, how does nature relate to my phone, for example? And you just go back even farther where it started, where you can go back infinitely. And I just think that humans should not rely on man-made products as much as they should learn to survive on nature. So that will finish my idea up. And I would definitely persuade you to go. I really want you to watch Daniel Vitalis' episode. Even if you've watched it, try to watch it again, because you learn extra stuff the second time you watch it. I rewatched the entire thing. I've done it 3 times. It's a great, great episode. They really explains everything really well. You learn a lot. It's very, very interesting. Well, that will finish me up. Right now, yeah, I will probably have more. Callum will probably think of some awesome things for me to talk about. So, yes, Callum, you have some awesome ideas?
Yeah. So, yeah, I really like how you were talking about all of that different stuff, and I think that was really awesome. And I think it's very interesting where nature nature is so many things, like I was saying earlier. Animals are so many things. There's so many types of animals too. Like you were saying, worms, those live underground, and ants, those live underground. Um, and like those guys, they might not get sunlight 24/7, but a lot of other people don't get sunlight 24/7. It's very important for people to get vitamin D. That is very important. And actually, with the coronavirus and all, they're saying that it's really good to get vitamin D during it, because it's very good for you. And humans, I'm pretty sure every single type of animal needs vitamin D and sunlight. And like worms and ants come out. Ants are, everything comes out and gets sunlight that it needs. Maybe not as much, but and like humans, like Jake was saying, like humans have really gotten so much evolved where we don't like really even work anymore for survive, really. I mean, yeah, there's jobs and stuff and you work that way, but you don't really survive anymore. You don't survive. And there's species of animals that spend their whole life surviving. That's all they do 24/7, nothing else, just surviving. And like squirrels always work, and I know, they hibernate and stuff, so they like work. Squirrels will like go out every day, get the food, bring it to their house because they need the food to hibernate for winter. Maybe squirrels down in like Arizona or California won't have to worry about that, but a lot of squirrels do, or bears, and a lot of animals have to always think, because they're like, oh my, I need to be prepared for next winter because it gets cold and I don't want to go out, and so then they need to prepare for that. And humans are just in their house, and a lot of these animals don't even get, animals don't get TV. Animals don't get to watch stuff just in your couch. It's the middle of winter. You're just like, ugh. You gotta watch Space Force, and you're just there, and you gotta eat the chips. No. You know why these animals are like storing up on food, working so hard to survive, because they need to survive. And so yeah, like Jake was saying, and humans have been around for a little while now. I don't know exactly how long, but there's some species of animals that are still going, that are older than humans, and they're not involved as humans. And humans can do way more because they got bigger brains, bigger IQ, and they can learn a lot. But it wasn't really like that at the beginning. Humans evolved a lot, and that's why that's why we have schools. A lot of animals, I don't think they have schools where they teach everything. Probably they're just their parents or guardians just teach them how to do different stuff. For animals, where we have school and Boy Scouts, like Jake was saying, and all this different stuff that helps you throughout life and all this stuff. And then like there's work, where like then you like work for money now instead of work for your life. And I guess money is important, but I mean, humans used to be working every single day, getting food, water, all of this, and because they're trying to survive. They're not, they have to work. Where now more work is kind of like different stuff, and some people have work that is important, like lumberjacks. That can be important for fire and stuff. Yes, it's damaging the trees, but that helps humans survive still. And then there's farmers, and farmers have a big job, and way more important than a salesperson. Way more important. Farmers have to grow crops, work on different animals, chickens, cows, pigs, sheep. They're working their whole life working out stuff. They're not they're not just like normal humans doing they are normal humans, but they're not they're not just relaxing all the time in their chair. They're not like sitting down in front of a computer working, sitting down. They're up, they're moving, they're getting physical. Most farmers that you see are very healthy because farmers are healthy because they're walking all the time. They're getting natural food, and like a lot of hunters, foragers are also very healthy too because they are also out in nature, and this is very important. So I think that you should do it too. And there's different shows like I don't know if you've heard the show Alone. That's a show where you like go out in the woods and you have to survive. After that show, those contestants must be kind of like, wow, we got it good, huh? I mean, I'm not doing this the rest of my life, where a lot of animals do. And some animals live under people's houses so they don't have to make a shelter, or they live in trees, so they don't have to do that really. But, and they live in small spaces, and they might be smaller than humans, but not as much. So if they live like in a little tree stump, a family of 10 squirrels live in this little trunk in a tree. It's very squished, but they're all, it's just a little family. Where a family of 4 lives in this ginormous house. Everyone has 2 of their own rooms, their own bathroom, they got all that stuff. They got all this room. And, and a lot of times people use houses for everything now, especially quarantine, where a lot of animals and humans in the past just use houses to sleep, basically, or eat food. That's kind of what they use houses for, because they're always out working, So, yeah, and I know I've been talking a lot about more surviving than nature animals, but nature is surviving with you can't survive without nature. And if there's life forms on different planets like Mars or the moon, probably not the moon, but grasshopper, but probably not maybe not the moon, but Mars and different stuff like that, then like maybe they don't need oxygen, maybe they have their own oxygen, maybe they have to breathe through the sand or the rocks, or they different stuff like that. And we don't know how that works yet because humans aren't at that evolution yet. But someday we will probably figure that out. So I think that's going to finish me up. So Jake, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would definitely like to add some things. And you had great points that I would 100% like to cover. So education. So a lot of animals, like you said, they learn it from their parents. They adapt it. So that's pretty much like educating themselves, but they don't really have what humans do. So humans learn about engineering. Humans learn about different things that they pursue in life, or they do life. And I do understand how you said Alone, and that is the amazing show, and it's a great show. But also Wild Fed, if you watch that show, I cannot forget about that show. That's Daniel Vitalis' show, and it's a great show. He shows you different things. He shows you really how to survive off the wild, and I would highly recommend that you watch it. The first episode is free. We had a giveaway for it, and we did have a winner, but we are having another giveaway in a week or 2, so it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So let's see. Ooh, what? Yeah, Callum made some amazing points, and he really covered everything, like how humans are, like, really relying on just making them their own stuff, and pollution is really hard. But I feel like that humans should really become education. They should use that to educate themselves on the environment because there's so much pollution going on and different things like that. So that is really the major thing that I really want to conclude this video with. Callum, do you have anything to conclude with, like, major thing?
Not really, but yeah, so pollution is definitely a problem nowadays that humans have pretty much created. And, you know, actually humans also have created new forms of nature. The humans make something and then nature evolves in that thing. It, like, does something different. Like, people will go back to that thing that they made and they're like, whoa, I've never seen this type of nature before. This is interesting nature. And, like, humans cause that nature too. So humans have caused nature and caused global warming.
Yes. So I believe that finishes up. Does that finish you up? That's great. So now, well, thank you very much for watching the JCT Talks podcast. This has just been a program. Well, this is a much more laid back episode, I feel like. We really just been having a good old conversation, talking, and now, like, I'm not stuck behind a curtain. I will add, I was stuck on a little ledge over there. I will have a little picture in the video, like here, showing the little ledge that I was just sitting on. Like, it's not good, and it was uncomfortable. But now I decided to move my office in here for virtual schooling, and I have this already for virtual schooling, and I start in like 2 weeks, which is crazy. And I bet if you are in college and in or in elementary school or middle school or high school, you're most likely either doing virtual schooling or you're going in person, but with a mask. And this episode, we really started JCT Talks. If you want to watch our podcasting experiences episode, we started because of quarantine, and we were like, let's do this. Let's just think about this, and I think it'll be a great time. So that concludes the episode. Thank you very much for watching the JCT Talks podcast. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have an Instagram. Cal, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so the Instagram, the link to that will be in the description below. We post different stuff on there. Bloopers, we have our first bloopers episode out that is like a month old, but still down there. It's really funny. And yeah, we also have that. And before we end this video, we should take a sip of our tea because JCT Talks.
That is a great idea, and we've been drinking our tea this entire time during our podcasts, and we really don't get to have a time to enjoy tea with the viewers. And I really think that you should drink tea with us. You should drink tea during our podcasts.
Then you get the full experience.
Yeah, the full experience of JCT Talks. So
you know, I drink a lot of my tea when Jake is talking. Then Jake drinks a lot of his tea when I'm talking.
Yeah, because when you're drinking, like, you can't really talk. Make sure to stay tuned and watch our episodes in the future. We are having another tea giveaway, so that'll be very, very exciting, and it's with a big company. I cannot tell you. It's a very big surprise. But yeah, and that really concludes this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Again, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.